Look, I get it, okay? It can be genuinely frightening. Video games are expensive, both in terms of time and money. Brand new video games can cost anywhere from $20 to $70, and used ones often aren't much cheaper. And a lot of major releases can take dozens, if not hundreds, of hours to complete. That's a huge commitment to something you might not even enjoy. It's a big risk to try something new. I understand wanting to stick to what you already know, to only play games that you're already comfortable with, to stick to the same copy and paste franchises every year. I play Call of Duty. I've bought a couple EA Sports titles. Hell, I've been playing Pokemon since I was 5 years old. I get it. There's something comforting about not taking risks, about not trying something new, about sticking to the franchises and developers you already know and trust. About going back to the same franchises every year because you've been doing it your whole life and you already know you'll enjoy it. And even if you don't enjoy it, well, there's always next year, right? I mean, there is a reason why in 2021, a year that saw the release of Halo Infinite, Metroid Dread, Resident Evil Village, Neo The World Ends With You, Psychonauts 2, and Ratchet & Clank Into the Nexus, the 5 best-selling games were 2 Call of Duties and EA Sports titles, a Pokemon game, and Battlefield 2042. I get it. There is something comforting about knowing exactly what you're going to get, even if you know it's going to be disappointing. And I'm sure the games inside your comfort zone are a lot of fun. If they weren't, they wouldn't be so popular, and you'd probably actually step outside of said comfort zone every once in a while. I'm sure you're having fun, and I'm sure you're happy, but are you truly fulfilled? There are over 5 million video games in existence, not to mention dozens of genres, millions of developers, and infinite possibilities. There will always be something truly unique for you to play. Are you not doing yourself a disservice by not giving at least a few of them a chance? Lately, I've heard a lot of people talking about how games just aren't fun for them anymore. How even though the industry is bigger and better than ever and we exist in sort of a golden age for gaming, they still can't seem to enjoy anything they play. There's a solid chance that this is just people growing older and losing interest in a hobby most commonly associated with childhood, but I have a separate theory. I've noticed that a lot of people who talk about not being able to find joy in playing video games anymore don't have a lot of variety in the games they play. They mostly stick to a single company or, even worse, a single genre. And because of that, I think these people have lost the ability to find joy in video games, not because they're getting older or because games are getting worse, but because they have no variety in the games they play. I believe this because I've experienced it firsthand. I've been playing video games basically my entire life. At the very least, I've been playing video games ever since my parents got me a Leapfrog Click Start all the way back in preschool. Yeah, this was my first video game console. But that insane can of worms is a topic for another video. The point is, I've been playing video games my entire life. But there was a brief period of time from 2014 to 2017 where I stopped almost entirely. I'm sure it's hard to believe that there was ever a time that I didn't like video games, especially if you look at my channel or, at my shelf. Can you tell that women want me? Men want me too. But it's true. There was a point in my life where I had all but completely lost interest in video games. At the time, I thought this was simply because I didn't like them anymore, but looking back, I realized that my problem was really a lack of variety. The only games I played back then were licensed games, Pokemon, and Minecraft. And while a lot of what I was playing was still pretty good, the lack of variety and quality control in the games I was playing caused my interest in video games to rapidly diminish. And, it didn't help that I owned a Wii U in 2015. Anyway, the point is, a lack of variety directly led to a lack of interest. I was still playing games, but not as often or with as much enjoyment as I once did. But in 2017, the wild popularity of Breath of the Wild and Cuphead were inescapable. So I took a risk, picked up something truly new for what felt like the first time in years, and I've been in love with video games ever since. And while I do still play a lot of Minecraft and Pokemon, I also play so much more. Prior to actually playing it, Yakuza was a franchise I had never heard of, but I decided to try it out when Yakuza Kiwami was offered free on PlayStation Plus back in 2018. Cut to 4 years later, I'm 5 games into this nearly 20-game franchise, and I have yet to find a single Yakuza game that I didn't love. Neo The World Ends With You was also a game that I knew nothing about when I bought it, but I thought the art style was pretty and the name was cool, so I gave it a chance, and it ended up being one of the best games I've ever played. Katamari is weirdo shit, And as weirdo shit, it only appeals to a very small number of people. I never expected to actually be one of those people, but ever since I first tried it out, the Katamari games have become sort of a comfort food to me. The sort of thing that cheers me up when life gets hard. I've never really been the biggest fan of 2D platformers, but I still give them a chance from time to time, and as a result, Celeste, Shovel Knight, Hollow Knight, Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario World, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Super Metroid, Metroid Dread, and Sonic Mania have all managed to become some of my favorite games of all time, despite my disdain for the rest of the genre. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim was a game I played for two simple reasons. My funny monkey brain thought the game was pretty, and it was being published by Atlas, the company that developed Persona 5, my favorite game of all time. I knew literally nothing about the game, but I still picked up a copy because it mildly interested me. And you will never guess what my second favorite game is. It's 13 Sentinels. I just fucking said it. My point is, every single game I talked about is one of many examples of a risk I took. I had no idea whether or not I would enjoy these games, and for a few of them I was sure that I wouldn't enjoy them at all, and yet I played them anyway. And as a result, I was able to experience some truly incredible masterpieces that I genuinely love. And I never would have gotten the chance to play any of them had I not stepped out of my comfort zone. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and act like this sort of thing always works out. That would be stupid and disingenuous. Obviously, taking risks doesn't always work out. With 5 million games in existence, there are guaranteed to be some serious stinkers. You wouldn't exactly be wrong to assume that it's because developers are shitty little vulture vampires who make lazy garbage specifically designed to take every penny you own, but most companies aren't EA, so most of the time, bad games are the result of far less sinister reasons. Simple mistakes, limited funding, overzealous scopes, not understanding the hardware they're working with, overestimating their own abilities, rushing development to meet some arbitrary deadlines, or bad ideas that seemed like good ones at the time are all common reasons for developers to end up with bad games. Of course, the seemingly endless onslaught of pee-pee poo-poo doo-doo dog shit offsets the ratio of risk to reward when experimenting with new games and discourages people from taking risks. The good thing is, there are a few tricks that can be used to mitigate the risk of stepping out of your comfort zone, so it feels like you're wading in the kiddie pool when you're actually cannonballing into the Mariana Trench. First of all, video games are expensive, but they don't stay that way. Most games that release for $60 drop to $20 or $30 within a year. Indie games are almost always cheap, and the retro stuff is finally starting to drop in value again. Plus, subscription services like Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Now offer large catalogs of great games for an affordable price. In terms of actually deciding which games you should play, try to avoid making decisions solely based on trailers, box art, or art style. I do that shit all the time, but that's exactly how I know it's a terrible idea. If you're gonna buy a game, you should at least know the basic concept. Trailers and screenshots can definitely help with that, but your best bet for learning about the gameplay is watching 5 to 10 minutes of a walkthrough so you get a good idea of the basic story setup and gameplay. And if you're gonna listen to a review, I'd avoid companies like IGN, GameSpot, and Nintendo Life. Despite being official publications, it is painfully obvious how unqualified their employees are when it comes to reviewing anything.
At its core, Insomniac Games' adventure strives to make you feel like Spider-Man.
It's going to be like you're going through Green Hill Zone from Sonic 2, and you're like...
Arkham Asylum makes you feel like you're Batman.
Refreshingly original.
And the animation isn't flashy at all. I know this is a throwback to older games, but it just looks lazy these days.
Story in a game is like story in a porn movie. It's expected to be there, but it's not that important.
For my money, I'd stick to the independents. Video Game Donkey, Scott the Woz, Nakey Jakey, The Completionist, Angry Video Game Nerd, Rasputin, Moist Critical, Jacob Geller, Austin Eruption, me. These are the kinds of people I listen to. Obviously, they are all far from perfect. They're not always right, and they're not always smart, and they don't always know what they're talking about, but unlike the big publications, independent creators like these guys are known for their experience, consistency, and honesty. And as a result, even when they're talking out of their asses, their opinions are still worth their time. You know what's not worth your time? Metacritic. Fucking Metacritic. This shit is so stupid. It's exactly what you'd expect to get when you let a bunch of random assholes say whatever they want with zero accountability.
It's just like Congress.
Look, sometimes the internet is right about the quality of games, but sometimes they're really not. Trusting Metacritic is a fucking coin flip, and more often than not, a bad user score does not mean a game is bad. It just means people are angry. That being said, Metacritic does have some merit. When a game has both a high Metascore and a high user score, you can probably trust that it's a good game. On the complete other end of the spectrum, if you ever see a game with a Metascore and a user score in the red, you run like hell. Games like this will shoot your dog and hit your wife and burn down your house, and after all of that, the worst thing about your life will still be the fact that you spent $60 on Balan's fucking Wonderworld. So basically, do just enough research to learn the basics without getting spoiled, find reviews from people who can actually be trusted, use Metacritic sparingly, wait for games to drop in value, use subscription services whenever possible, and avoid IGN like the fucking plague, and stepping out of your comfort zone should become a lot easier. Alright, so what was the point of all of this? What am I trying to say with all of this awful, nonsensical word vomit? My point is, there is so much more to life than just Call of Duty and Madden. Just think about how much art you are missing out on when you ignore all of the other games in existence just to spend another $60 on the latest, nearly identical release in an annual franchise. I know that it's a huge risk to try something new, but I promise it's worth it. Variety is the spice of life. There is no discovery without the unknown, no reward without risk. If you never step out of your comfort zone and never try out anything new, you will miss out on so much of what the world has to offer. There are sure to be failures and missteps, but I guarantee that if you step out of your comfort zone every once in a while and add a little variety to your life, you will discover the brave new world that only opens up if you learn to take risks and try something new.